What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of for Code Geass, Roze of the Recapture. This is episode 10, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Okay, so I pointed this out, I think it was either last week or a couple weeks ago, that much of this plot seems somewhat similar to what was shown in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Um, all,
Well, when you consider how most of the plot points in Roze are kind of a rehash of the original series, I mean, I would say that's a fairly accurate comparison. But unfortunately, it seems like like in this episode, it's even more. It just feels like it's even more similar to the sequels because of what happens and what is revealed about Norland.
yeah, so we pick up immediately after the last episode where all of these machines sent by Norland are just basically just wreaking havoc, killing everything in sight, including random civilians here and there. And Gino is pretty much put to the task of mobilizing everybody around the world.
You know,
Because
you know what's funny is that Gino feels like the only character from the original series that feels like he's kind of, I guess, in character. Like it feels like he's the most consistently, I guess, written character that has shown up from the original series. Like, because it does make sense that he would be in the position he's in, and he's kind of reacting the way I would expect him to. None of the other characters from the original series feel like they're that consistent with how they were presented in the original series.
yeah, and of course we do, we still get more appearances from, well, just brief appearances from everybody else, like including the Akito characters, Suzaku showing up. I think there was about a couple more. They also show like a few other characters that I've never seen before. I think that they were from like other Code Geass projects. I haven't seen
I
them.
think so. Because I did recognize, like, some of them did look familiar, but I couldn't really think of where I've seen them before. But I know that they're probably from other Code Geass projects.
Yeah, they apparently were, but it's, I mean, I mean, most people who haven't looked at all the other supplemental stuff aren't gonna figure out who these people are. I mean, there are like various other projects, including like I think there was that recent free to play gotcha game that was released, but I don't know, it's not really technically canon. Um, uh, so yeah, so there everybody's just dealing with all of these like blender bot machines. Well, they call them Lokis. That's what they call them. And the rest of the resistance is also doing, and the resistance in Hokkaido is doing their best to pretty much handle these things. Same with Nara Vaughn, who was originally sent for quote unquote peace talks, but now she's helping out the UFN try to fight these machines, even though she knows that I assuming if she knows that Norland sent those things in the first place.
I mean, I kind of figured this was going to be her character arc in the series, that she was eventually just going to defect to the other side, because it seemed pretty obvious to me, given how her character is, or at least like what we were given about her character. But I mean, that's my other criticism of this series, and I mean, I've said it before, but all the characters are just very one dimensional. They have like one personality trait, and that's really all they are. I mean, we kind of get some backstory, like with Naravan, and then in this episode we do get like a little bit of backstory of I forget her name, but
Was it Catherine?
Yeah, Catherine. Yeah, Catherine's backstory. It's just, I guess both of her parents got killed by some random thug. She was like, her parents, I guess, were working at a bread stall, and some random thug comes up and kills both of them, just point blank shoots both of her parents and tries to kidnap her. And then Norland stops him by just stabbing her, I guess, just killing him. And that made her, I guess, respect Norland and decide to follow him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I would have liked if the show was a little bit longer, but it's just I don't know. It's hard to tell like where they're taking this plot with most of these side characters most of the time. Um, I don't know. It's like I feel like there could have been like a good rivalry between Catherine and I think um who is it? I think it was that one of that Japanese resistance member.
It felt like that's what they were trying to. That's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, but now like they're giving her like this redemption arc with the help of Sakura, and of course the knight that she's accompanied with, Walter. That's
Yeah,
I think that's
because
his name.
she helps both of them escape, like during the Loki's attack, and then she just leaves. Uh, and that's I guess she was convinced to switch sides because of that speech that what was it like that she what like yeah Sakura, like I guess that she gave her in one of the previous episodes. I guess that was enough to convince her to switch sides.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's just a weird like what's the best way to see it? It's not a flip flop, but it's like some kind of face turn of sorts. It just
Yeah,
seems
but
like
it's
just
just
out of
poorly
nowhere.
done because it's like I guess that one speech was enough to really just change her mind. But then I guess she just joined Norland because he's saved or I guess he saved her from being kidnapped. But
I mean, the way they did it for the characters in the original series was done a lot more efficiently than how it was done here because you gave like some of those characters in the original series a lot more time to just do a little bit more soul searching of like what's going on with Britannia and hopefully like try to fix the damage that was done and maybe join the other side even though like if there were some complications with certain people working on each side once Lelouch became Emperor of Britannia here and there. But anyway,
well,
yeah,
I
it's
feel
just
like with her character, if they were trying to go this route, it should have been set up way earlier on instead of just like right at the end of the series.
yeah. I honestly don't know what they're gonna end up doing with Catherine. Maybe maybe it's possible that they will
I think
likely
she's probably
have
going
her
to
join.
defect much like Noravon probably, and she's just going to switch sides.
I I feel like Nora Vaughn, like despite how flawed she is, like she had somewhat of a more believable like in a way to defect, but for Catherine, it was just like thrown at us out of nowhere.
I mean, with her, it felt like they sort of planted the seeds of her her character going that direction like earlier on in the series too. Um, but with Catherine, they just it just feels like she just did like you said a sudden heel turn.
Yeah. So uh, Sakuya and Ash manage to infiltrate Norland's castle, and they go to try to find Norland himself, but they are soon confronted by Arnold, who decides to challenge Ash to a duel. It's The duel was brief, and it just ends with Ash just kicking Arnold in the air, and then he gets impaled through through a spike, and then like he gets crushed by falling debris.
Yeah,
And
it feels a little bit anticlimactic.
yeah, and then of course, then that's when we finally have Sakuya finally confronting Norland. Pretty much Norland admitting that he was the one who created, the Loki machines, killing everybody, and and then of course he finally reveals his identity, revealing himself as a clone of the former Britannian Emperor Charles the Britannia.
Yeah. So we were saying I guess we did last week say that this was very similar to the sequel trilogy and this is another way in which it feels like it's very similar to the sequels because as of course as everybody and probably everybody at this point knows what happens in that where they bring Palpatine back because they had killed off Snoke, so they just decided to have Palpatine come back just because. And it feels like that's the same thing happening here, where they decide to bring back Charles. But for those who have seen the original series, they should know that this is a major problem because Charles Lelouch pretty much killed off both his mother Marianne and Charles in the original series. Like their souls are gone. So if you think about it in that way, how would Charles have? Because supposedly Norland is a vessel for Charles's soul to inhabit, but Charles's soul should really not still should not exist anymore. So I mean, how does Charles come back after what happened in the original series?
And another issue is like this clone's purpose is for Charles' soul to inhabit this body.
Yeah,
But here's another issue: Charles was already immortal by the last few moments of his life.
Yeah,
So
there's
why
really
would
no
he even
point
need?
for a clone his soul to inhabit so that his I guess so that he can keep on living when he couldn't die in the original series really, and until Lelouch got destroyed both his soul and his mother's. Uh, I mean, like you mentioned, you pointed out, he was already immortal, so there was no reason for him to do this. So it
Yeah,
just introduces a huge, I mean, much like a lot of other things in the series, just introduces a massive contradiction. It really just feels like the creators, and I kind of joke that it's almost like they haven't watched the original, but I'm really starting to wonder if they actually have even seen the original series at this point, because they should know this. So this just introduces a huge, like, just, continuity error, just a massive contradiction with the original series.
yeah.
Even if you take into account, like, the recap movies, which do change some things, but I would assume it doesn't change some major plot points like that.
I mean, the only reason why they made those changes in the recap films
Is
was
so Lelouch could live.
just yeah, just for Lelouch to come back, which in a way it does make sense. But what they did here, it just spits in the face of everything that everybody who's watched the original series knew. Like this is not like it doesn't line up with everything that's happened before.
There's also
Like why?
another issue that I have is in the motivation of Norland, I guess also Charles, is that he wants to exterminate humanity. If you remember from the original series, the Ragnarok plan, at least from what I remember, the whole idea of the Ragnarok plan was to kill God. But he wanted to kill God not necessarily to kill humanity. He wanted to kill God because he wanted to. It was in a way for him to eliminate war and suffering, and I guess humanity's various sins. I guess he figured was to kill God. It wasn't to eliminate humanity necessarily. But in this, he just wants to eliminate humanity, and he has no reason for it. Like what's hilarious about this scene too was that Roze or Sakuya keeps asking him why he's doing this, and he doesn't have an answer. He just keeps saying, "I don't know. That's not the reason." And she keeps, bringing up reasons for why he could be doing this, and he just keeps
Yeah,
saying no. And it's
yeah.
just it's so badly written. It's like, okay, but why? And he doesn't. We still don't know. He doesn't even know.
It's like she keeps asking if it's for revenge, and no. If it's for
Yeah, it
love
just
of
keeps repeating
nature,
himself.
no. If is it a suicide mission? No. Is it is it uh, to follow in your predecessor's footsteps? No. Is it for this? No. Is it for that? No. So we don't. Yeah, like you said, we don't have an actual answer of why he's doing this. So
I wonder if they're just holding out until like the very last episode to give the real reason, or if he just really doesn't have one.
I'm predicting that he really doesn't even have one
Because the writers don't even know.
because like his reasons is his original purpose was become Charles' new vessel, but now that Charles is dead, he doesn't have a reason to do anything else, and now he's just following through with this genocidal plot to kill everybody in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen series with like really lazily written villains before. But I mean, I don't know. This is pretty bad. Like, especially in terms of something like Code Geass, which I feel like should kind of hold itself to a little bit of a higher standard. Like, this is pretty bad. I mean, especially when your villain really has no motivation at all other than just essentially just to be evil, just to kill humanity, I guess, and for no real reason either.
Yeah.
So
I honestly I don't know where they're gonna. I mean I don't know like how they're gonna end this series at this point, because honestly I don't really expect anything much from Norland. It's likely he needs to die at this point, because there's no reason to even keep him around if there's no real purpose.
I am genuinely interested how they plan to kill him off, because they've really kind of set him up to be like, I guess in a way almost like Charles, where it's almost like he can't be killed. You can't Geass him, and I guess when Sakuya tries to shoot him, he has some kind of a shield, so I guess he can't be killed that way. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I really feel like I keep jinxing us each week with me saying it just can't possibly get any dumber than it's gotten. And I mean, I don't know. This is really like, this is as dumb as it has gotten, in my opinion, especially with them kind of desperately bringing back Charles in a way, and him having no real reason for why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, it's just the problem is like there's no real hero and villain dynamic between between Sakia and of course Norland. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, like he's based off like because Charles Britannia is technically Sakia's grandfather, biological grandfather, but
Mm.
this is not. I mean, this is just a copy of her grandfather, which has no real family relationship with her, at all. So she just, yeah. I mean, if it really was Charles, then maybe it would have made like it would have made it a little bit more interesting. But the fact that it's not just kind of throws that all away.
It's supposedly a clone of him, but it really doesn't act like him either.
No, it's not because it's not him because
Yeah.
because like it would like
Well,
I
I guess
said
if
it
you want to
would
be
have
technical, it's a vessel for Charles.
yeah it's a vessel, but what I thought would have kind of make this scene a little bit better if Norland was the actual resurrected version of Charles, and maybe they would have had some family dynamic with him and Sakio, but
Yeah.
it just
I feel like either way, it's really stupid. Like either.
yeah, it wouldn't have been stupid, but if it was the actual Charles, maybe it would have been slightly better, even if it was still bad at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I hate to say it, but I'm really just waiting for this series to be over because it's just gotten so ridiculous. I mean, I've stopped taking it seriously. Um,
Yeah,
but
like it's just not living up to expectations for what
yeah.
this is supposed to be. I mean, like I mean, you know, that with the Akito spin-off, it's like it was somewhat of a risk, but it actually worked considering that it took place between the first and second season, and
Well,
it
and
was
and
its
it
own
felt like
thing.
the Akito spinoff also told its own original story, while in a way I would say mostly sensibly including some of the original series characters like Lelouch, and it made sense where considering where it took place in the timeline. Roze, on the other hand, it just feels like I said, it just is very inconsistent with what happened in the original series, even the recap movie versions of it, and it doesn't really line up at all with what happened there. It almost feels like in a way that it takes the sequel trilogy approach with introducing Neo Britannia kind of out of nowhere and just a new conflict just to have one. This pretty much so. But yeah, like I said, I don't really have much else to say about this episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how this thing ends at this point because we only have like two more episodes left to go, and then that's pretty much it after that.
Mm.
And whether or not they're gonna even make any more, considering that they're still in their like so-called 10-year plan for the series, it's just I don't know where they can take this.
It really doesn't even feel like this series was planned out at all. It just seems it feels to me more like it was almost like the whole series was almost written overnight. Like that's how it feels like after having watched it. Um,
Yeah, it's just like they tried to throw in some fan service stuff, like by bringing back some original characters, but it's not enough to really fix something, with a plot that's so just hastily written, and of course some characters that just feel so underdeveloped at times.
yeah, yeah, guys. But I guess I mean we only got fortunately 2 more episodes to go. But yeah, so that all being said, until next week, we will see you all next time.